This sequence opens with Jeter Lester, a Depression-era farmer who's about to lose his land, stealing his son-in-law's car to sell it for quick cash. He makes the mistake of trying to sell it to a police captain and is reunited with his family in jail.
You crazy fool with the automobile!
Like John Ford's The Grapes of Wrath, this is a film about the plight of poor people, except that the tone that Ford employs here is broad comedy.
But what I ought to do is to lock you all up. For if ever there was a nuisance, it's you Tobacco Road folks. But you ain't worth the expense to the county. You're just naturally trifling. And I reckon that's all there is to it.
Bright in the corner where you are, bright in the corner.
Hush that yowling!
Ford's handling of comedy is an acquired taste, to say the least. For example, there are some, myself included, who think the comic interludes in The Searchers are one of the film's weak points. Ford's actors are gratingly boisterous, relying on thick mannerisms and broad physical comedy. That would be my assessment of much of the acting of Tobacco Road, but this sequence stands out as being able to give dignity and meaning to these characters' crudeness.
I ain't gonna be your land long, they're gonna throw you off it!
The sequence turns the corner for me with this moment when Jeter and his wife are throwing rocks at their son's car. It's reminiscent of a scene in Killer of Sheep, my favorite film about what it's like to live in poverty.
What are we chucking rocks at him for?
You made me mad! Did the man come?
Not yet.
The mood changes from hilarity to pathos. Jeter and his wife, unable to find money, are about to be evicted from their farm. Jeter's wife strikes a Dorothea Lange pose. Jane Darwell as Ma Jode struck the exact same pose in The Grapes of Wrath. And here Ford has a couple of guys on the roof dropping leaves. I'm pretty sure that John Ford invented this sort of technique. And here's another Ford device, when he has a character make a recurring gesture. In this case, Jeter Lester, blowing this deflated inner tube, a symbol of his futility. And here's the patented John Ford monumentalizing low-angle wide shot, with all that negative space suggesting emptiness and abandonment. Mrs. Jeter putters around looking for things worth taking to the poor farm. It's as if time has momentarily stood still. Filmmakers from Sam Peckinpah to Pedro Costa, they've all learned from this. This is how discerning critics prefer to have their movies about the poor. Dignified, solemn, sanctified. But you can see John Ford resisting that pedestalizing sentiment in this film.
Couldn't be no worse.
Jeter! Come on, Jeter! Jeter, wait a minute! I ain't mad!
Look at how abruptly he shifts gears here, with Jeter's son-in-law, Love Benzie, chasing after him. Note how Love pops into the frame twice, once through the window, and then the second time through the fence.
Wait a minute, Jeter! Wait, I ain't mad at you no more. It's about Pearl. She going off again.
You ain't gonna hit me in the head with a rock?
Don't you understand? Pearl's going off to Augusta.
What was you doing to her?
I wasn't doing a thing in the world to that girl except tying her up with some rope. She busted loose from me and I ain't seen her since.
How you know she ain't out in the woods hiding?
I tell you, she going off to Augusta.
Love's wife has fled to seek a better life beyond Tobacco Road. As Jeter consoles his son-in-law, Ford keeps the energy going with his tracking shot, which reinforces the two characters' reconciliation and mutual support, as Jeter talks about the many women in his youth who ran out on him.
Well, I can't remember all their darn names. There was so many of them, but they all done the same darn thing. They up and run off down to cotton mills in Augusta so they'd have pretty clothes and a hat to wear.
Maybe she come back.
Jeter sees this development as an opportunity to pawn off his last daughter on Love, Ellie Mae, a simpleton played by Gene Tierney. And just as Maureen O'Hara symbolized the natural, unbridled splendor of Ireland in The Quiet Man, Gene Tierney's dirty sensuality here encapsulates Ford's regard for these bumpkins as a sight whose crudeness and garishness contains a beguiling innocence and raw beauty.
Go get yourself washed up and go down to his house and fix up for her.
And amidst all this Depression-era squalor, there's a fleeting moment of romance and lyricism. Another abrupt shift of tone, as Dude comes roaring back in his car, almost Preston Sturges style.
You trifling white! Look what you done to my automobile!
Dude tries to accost his brother-in-law, but love lays down the law of the lowest common denominator. By overturning Dude's car, a symbol of mobility and class stature, love enacts revenge on his runaway wife and all those who would flee from Ford's beloved salt-of-the-earth dystopia of Tobacco Road.